My water broke. Right there on the nursery floor. While the most dangerous man in Seoul was sitting across from me telling me he was never dying. The terminal diagnosis. The donation. The reason he came back. It was all a mistake. And I was about to give birth to his daughter before I could even decide if I was angry. Whether you have been here from the very beginning or you just found this channel tonight, you are exactly where you need to be. This story starts with a woman, a nursery floor, and a truth so big it could not wait for her to be ready. You do not need to know everything that came before. You just need to stay. Subscribe to Afro Seoul Romance Tales right now so you never miss a story like this one. And if you are already family, let us finish this together. Let me take you back to that nursery floor. Jae-won was sitting across from me. Dark suit slightly rumpled. Broad shoulders carrying none of their usual tension. The scar above his left eyebrow catching the warm lamplight. Looking more human than I had ever seen him look. More vulnerable. More real. The diagnosis was wrong, he said. Complete error. Wrong patient. Wrong results. I was never dying. I stared at him. Never, I repeated. Never, he said. And somewhere in this city was a woman carrying my child. A child that existed only because I thought I was running out of time. But I was not running out of time. And I had no way to find her. He looked at his hands. So I buried it. Told myself she was better off without me. That the child would never know the difference. Then I got shot. And woke up looking at you. And understood that some things cannot be buried no matter how deep you go. I knew your name before you told me, he said. I knew you were a nurse. I knew you had come from Nigeria alone. I knew you deserved better than everything I was about to bring into your life. His eyes came to mine. But by the time I understood that, it was already too late. And then he told me about Park. His most trusted man. The one who had been watching me since before the shooting. The one who wrote 4 words above my daughter's crib. The one who would not stop until he used me to get to Jae-won. I made a call this morning, Jae-won said. I am cooperating fully. My testimony. My evidence. Everything. In exchange for protection for you and Aryiam. And immunity for myself. He looked at me directly. The arrests happen tonight. Stay with me. Because what happens next cannot wait. My water broke. Right there on the nursery floor. I looked down. Then up at Jae-won. He looked at me. At the floor. Back at me. His eyes went wide. The most dangerous man in Seoul looked genuinely terrified for approximately 3 seconds. Then something shifted in his face. Something that looked almost like purpose. He was on his feet before I finished processing what was happening. It is too early, I said. I am only 37 weeks. This is too early. 37 weeks is not too early, he said. His voice completely calm now. Moving to help me up from the floor with hands that were steadier than mine. 37 weeks is early but not dangerous. You know this. You are a nurse. I know this, I said. I know this. The next contraction hit. 6 minutes after the first one. Strong enough to make me stop speaking entirely for 30 seconds. He held my hand through it. Did not say anything. Just held my hand with both of his and waited. When it passed, I looked at him. We need to go, he said simply. The contractions were 6 minutes apart. We had time. Not much. But enough. I should have called an ambulance. 9 years of nursing told me exactly what the protocol was. But Jae-won was already moving with the focused calm of someone who had spent his entire adult life making fast decisions under pressure. And some part of me that was not the nurse trusted him completely. I need to call Kim, I said. He handed me my phone without a word. Kim answered on the second ring. Water broke, I said. 6 minutes between contractions. She made a sound that was half professional assessment and half pure maternal panic. I will meet you there, she said immediately. Then I called my mother. Ada, she said. Mama, I said. And then I started crying. Not the quiet tears I had been permitting myself throughout all of this. Real crying. The kind that comes from somewhere beneath words. The kind that 9 years of building your life alone sometimes finally needs to release. Are you alone? She asked. I looked at Jae-won holding my hospital bag in the doorway. No, Mama, I said. I am not alone. A silence that held everything she was feeling without saying any of it. Then, I am coming, Ada. Book me a flight. I am coming to meet my granddaughter. Mama, you are in Nigeria. I am coming, she said again. And that was the end of that conversation. Have you ever received a truth so big you could not decide if you were relieved or furious or heartbroken or all three simultaneously? Drop it in the comments. Just one word describing what that felt like. I will be there reading every single one. Now stay, because this story is not finished yet. The labor took 9 hours. I will not pretend it was anything other than the hardest thing I have ever done. At 4 in the morning, when the city was quiet and the contractions were coming faster, I looked at Jae-won and said, "You do not have to stay the whole time." He looked up. "I know," he said. Like explaining further would only make it smaller. At some point in those long dark hours, he leaned close and said something so quietly I almost missed it. "Do not die on me," he said. "That is the only thing I am asking." "I am a trauma nurse," I said. "Nobody is dying." He nodded once. But his hand tightened around mine, and I understood he was not speaking as the most dangerous man in Seoul. He was speaking as a man who could not afford to lose anything else. I held his hand back. We did not need any other words. At 6:47 in the morning, as Seoul was waking up outside the hospital windows, Aryiam was born. She came into the world with considerable personal opinion about it. Loud, immediate, absolutely certain that everyone present should know she had arrived. The medical team worked quickly. I heard the numbers called. 9 years of nursing meant I understood every word. And every word was good, small but perfectly formed. Lungs working, heart strong. They placed her on my chest. And I stopped understanding anything except her. Her face, scrunched and furious and perfect. Dark hair damp against her head. Hands impossibly small curled against my skin. The specific warm weight of a person who has been part of you for 9 months, now existing separately for the very first time. "Aryiam," I said. Her name out loud for the first time with her actually present to hear it. I named her Aryiam because it means beauty in Korean. Because she was the most beautiful thing that had ever come from the most painful chapter of my life. She stopped crying. Just for a moment. Just long enough to seem like she recognized her own name. Then she started again. I laughed through tears I was not aware I was shedding. Then I looked up at Jae-won. He was standing at the side of the bed, looking at Aryiam with an expression I had no words for. Something that had moved through every layer of everything he was and arrived at something completely underneath all of it. Something that looked like the truest version of him. Something that looked like a man meeting the best thing he had ever done. "Do you want to hold her?" I asked. He looked at me, like he was not sure he had heard correctly. Like he was not sure he had the right. "Yes," I said simply. "It is okay." The nurse helped him position his arms. He was careful in the way that large, strong people are careful when they understand that their strength is completely irrelevant to the situation at hand. Holding Aryiam like she was made of something more precious than anything he had ever encountered in his entire life. Which she was. He looked at her for a long time without speaking. Then one tear. Just one. Moving quietly down his face while he looked at his daughter. The most dangerous man in Seoul, completely undone by this small, furious, perfect person in his arms. I watched him and felt something complete itself inside me that had been incomplete for a very long time. His phone lit up twice. He checked it without letting go of Aryiam. "Read something." Showed me the screen. "It is done," he said. "All of them. Including Park." I looked at the screen. Then at Aryiam in his arms. Then at him. "It is done," I agreed. We looked at each other across our daughter's head. Everything that had brought us here. The clinic. The donation. The wrong diagnosis. The organization. The 4 words above the crib. The nursery floor. All of it. Done. I always wonder about the woman watching this right now. Where are you tonight? What does the sky look like where you are? Is it raining in Lagos? Cold in London? Late night in Atlanta? Early morning in Seoul? Drop your city in the comments and tell me what the weather is like where you are tonight. I will be there reading every single one. My mother arrived 2 days later. I heard her before I saw her. Her voice in the corridor giving someone very specific directions in the mixture of English and Igbo she uses when she means absolute business. Then she was in the doorway. Looking at me. At Aryiam in my arms. At Jae-won standing to the side of the room. She crossed directly to me, took my face in both her hands. Her hands smelled like the shea butter she has used every single day of her life. The same smell as my childhood. The same smell as home. And I understood in that moment that some things follow you across oceans not to remind you of what you left behind, but to remind you of who you have always been. You look like yourself, she said. Like the real version. Then she looked at Aryiam. And became a grandmother in the specific instant that it happened. Visibly. Completely. Without reservation. Then she looked at Jae-won. He met her eyes. Did not look away. Did not perform anything. Just stood there and let her assess him with the full force of a Nigerian mother's complete and thorough assessment. Which is not a small thing. She looked at him for a very long time. Then she said, "You stayed." "Yes, Ma," he said, using the respectful address naturally, without being told. Like he understood instinctively what it meant to her. Something shifted in my mother's face. She nodded once. Turned back to Aryiam. "She looks like both of you," she said simply. "Which is exactly right. Before I tell you about the day we brought Aryiam home, I want to ask you something. What story do you want to hear next on Afro Seoul Romance Tales? A Nigerian woman who falls for the man sent to investigate her company? A Korean doctor who donates a kidney to a stranger and cannot stop thinking about her? A woman who finds love letters in a Seoul apartment that was never supposed to be hers? Drop your idea in the comments right now. I read every single suggestion. And the next story on this channel might be yours. We brought Aryiam home on a Thursday. I carried her through the front door of my apartment while Jae-won carried the bags, and my mother carried approximately 4 times more things than were necessary because she had been shopping for 2 days straight and had very strong opinions about what a baby needed. We went to the nursery. Pale yellow walls. The crib I assembled alone watching YouTube tutorials at midnight. The mobile of paper stars I made myself. The bookshelf with picture books I had been reading aloud for months to a baby who could not yet hear me, but I talked to anyway because my grandmother always said that love does not wait for the right moment. It just starts. I placed Aryiam in the crib for the first time. She looked up at the mobile of paper stars. And reached for them. Both tiny hands. Reaching. I felt Jae-won come to stand beside me. Looking down at our daughter, reaching for the stars her mother made her. "I made those," I told him quietly. "I know," he said softly. "I remember." I watched her reach for them and thought about every night I had sat in this nursery alone talking to her before she existed. Telling her she was coming into a world that was going to be worth it. Promising her that her mother had already done the hard work so she would not have to start from nothing. She was 3 days old and already reaching for things. She was already my grandmother's granddaughter. Later that night, after my mother had gone to the guest room and Aryiam was finally deeply asleep and Seoul had gone quiet outside the window, Jae-won and I sat on the nursery floor. Not because anything required it. Just because it was where the real conversations happened between us. The nursery floor had become the place where we told each other the truth. We sat in the quiet. The mobile of paper stars turning slowly above Aryiam's sleeping face. The wooden box on the shelf. The letter inside it. The photograph of a man who thought he was dying and wanted to leave something behind. He had left something behind. Just not in the way he imagined. "Jae-won," I said. He looked at me. "The letter. In the wooden box. You wrote, 'Tell her I was human once.'" He was quiet. "She does not need to read it now," I said. "She has the real version right here." Something moved across his face. "The real version is considerably more complicated than the letter suggested," he said. "I know," I said. "It is better that way." He looked at me for a long moment. And I looked back at him. And I made a decision in that quiet that I had been circling for months without being ready to land on it. I did not forgive him because what he brought into my life was acceptable. It was not acceptable. But holding on to it would have meant choosing the pain over the peace. And I had worked too hard for this peace to give it up for anything. Not even to a wound I had every right to keep open. I chose to put it down. Because strength is not holding on. Strength is knowing what to release. He reached out. And took my hand. Not dramatically. Not with words. Just reached out and took my hand the way you take something you have decided belongs to you. The way you hold something you have decided you are not putting down again. I let him. Because some things do not need explaining. Some things just need to be chosen. And I was choosing this. Not because it was easy. It was not easy. It was the least easy thing I had ever done in a life already full of difficult choices. But because it was real. And because Aryiam was asleep above us, reaching even in her sleep for the paper stars her mother made her. And because 9 years ago I left Nigeria with a nursing degree and a dream and everyone's warnings ringing in my ears. And I had never once imagined that the dream would look like this. A pale yellow nursery. A sleeping daughter. A complicated man holding my hand on the floor. My mother's tea going cold in the kitchen. Seoul quiet outside the window. And something that felt for the first time in as long as I could remember, like exactly enough. I came to Seoul 9 years ago with a nursing degree and a dream. I never planned for any of this. The danger. The fear. The impossible man sitting beside me on my nursery floor holding my hand like he finally understands what holding on means. But I have learned something about plans. They are just the stories we tell ourselves before life shows us something better. Jae-won looks at me in the quiet. He does not say anything. Just holds my hand. And I hold his back. Because some things do not need words. Some things just need to be chosen. And this is my choice. If this story found you tonight, like this video. Share it with a woman who needs it. And wherever you are in the world right now, thank you for staying all the way to the end. This is Afro Seoul Romance Tales. And we are just getting started.